All right, party people. So, everyone who's alive today knows about the polarization going on, and I'm just wondering what exactly is going to happen if that dog catches that car on either side. You have the right basically thinking that if they get in, they cancel EI, they cancel disability, they cancel welfare, maybe an old age pension, even in some cases. They cancel all the social welfare benefits. That somehow they're going to starve out the working class to a point where they're so desperate to beg for work that they do whatever the boss tells them, and this is going to spur the economy. And it doesn't really make sense because that's already what's going on. And basically, the welfare programs are giving such a small amount to people that they just have enough food to live, and then the food that they can afford to buy really isn't food. It's like Oreos at Walmart and shit that's the food that people can afford. So they think that people are going to basically get a snow shoveling job, and they're going to do it so fucking well that they're going to get their own snow shoveling business, and that if their employees aren't the fucking absolute best, they're gonna fucking send them to a fucking concentration camp where they fucking mine coal, or they send them to a prison, and they fucking make license plates or something. I don't really see. I know that's an extreme example, but that's already what's going on, really, because people can't afford anything. They usually get hooked on drugs when they're fucking basically at slave labor doing these things. I know a lot of people who are working class. I am myself, that went to oil rigs, went to do lube tech jobs, changing tires day after day, and they go home alone, and usually it starts off with weed and then it goes to coke or something. Soon enough, they have something with fentanyl that they get, and that's the way it goes. So tightening up drugs, another conservative, Republican, right-wing type thing. That's great. You're basically going to have to go to war with Mexico, which I think we could win. I think that's actually something that's doable, is just basically go and wage war against the cartel. But even then, that's a band-aid solution. I think the drugs are a symptom to a greater problem there. Immigration, another thing, that there's going to be a mass deportation, Trump is now saying, of like 10 million people. I could see that happening. I can also see that getting very perverted to how it's almost comparable to Nazis, but I'm not for open borders, so I don't have a solution there. The wall, I don't know. The thing about the wall is there's flights, there's boats. I know the cartel has submarines. Most of the human trafficking and border stuff is going on through tunnels underneath walls. It's going on very in complex ways, and if the cartel is behind that, that's probably, you're gonna have to go to war with them too, which is once again possible. That might be the solution. That might be actually a better solution than the wall or the deportations. Is for the United States government to take out the cartel, which is kind of already what they're trying to do with proxy wars. They're supporting Mexico and forcing Mexico, kind of their military, to go after them, but the cartel literally has like missile launchers and things now, so it's actually going to be like an actual, like, another Vietnam if they decide to do that. Which, I mean, if they do, that's fine. Anyways, enough on the right. Now the left. The left is thinking that somehow, if they get elected, overnight everything's going to be solar panels, everything's going to be vegan, no one's going to want to eat meat anymore because these Beyond Burgers are going to be so great that basically those memes, "you will eat bugs," is basically how it sums up. Like, I saw the other day at the supermarket, imitation chocolate for vegans, and chocolate isn't an animal based product. I guess what they're doing is the milk, maybe they're replacing something there, but they also replaced the chocolate. Like the chocolate isn't even in there anymore. Like they've combined different powders to make something that tastes similar to cocoa, which is it's almost brain dead at that point. You look at the Tesla cars, which I know Elon Musk's fanboys are usually on the right, but the people that buy the cars are usually center left. They're rich people that have inherited wealth, and they want to seem like they're great people. Tesla cars won't save the environment at all. Um, Everything that's powering the electric grid is based on natural gas, so that it's being burnt anyways. Also, the manufacturing of cars is terrible for the environment with pollution. The critical metals that are being mined for these engines are usually done slave labor in African countries, some Asian countries as well. So the virtue signaling doesn't make sense. So I think on the left, it also gun rights. I think in the U.S. that there's more guns than there is people. You're not going to get that cat back in the bag. So I think the left needs to give up on the stances on guns. I think the left needs to give up, or at least scale back some of the environmental stuff, or maybe just tweak it to make it more realistic within a time frame. And anyways, so if the left got in, I don't really understand how we would be powering our houses. Like, I don't know. But anyways, both sides are kind of crazy. Like I eat a lot of meat, and to say that I can't eat meat is probably where it would go. And then on the right, to say that I can't relax at home and I have to always be working. It's almost like the right in some ways is back to like communism, which they don't like to hear, but Stalin was a conservative thinking man, and I think a lot of the right, especially with their admiration of Vladimir Putin, is almost a return to Stalinism. Like, you looked at January 6th, the trucker convoy in Canada, similar things around the world. This is almost like Leninist revolution. Like they take over an area, or they storm the Congress, and they soapbox, and they're working class people. It's almost Leninist. I mean, so I don't think either side has a solution, and paradoxically, I don't think the center has a solution either, because trying to balance the two sides is also a broken system. So I'm not really defending liberalism either, or like democratic liberalism, like classical liberalism, like Jordan Peterson would be, because I don't know how much is salvageable at this point. Something new needs to come, but this is the same crisis that happened in the 20s, 30s, and 40s in Europe. Is some people decided to go to communism, some decided to go fascism, and both were essentially the exact same thing. Mussolini's thing, Spain, Franco, that's less talked about. It's all this authoritarian under a strong man who leads the country in one direction. And I think the argument for that is in the West, between Democrats and Republicans, liberals, conservatives, Labour, and conservatives in the UK. It goes back and forth, and the person, it usually goes like Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. There's sometimes two in a row, but anyways, when they get in, the first thing they do is try to undo everything that the last person did, and it usually takes them about 4 years to do that. So it's this constant deadlock of not even centrism, because it's not centrist to literally get nothing done and just keep things how they were 100 years ago, expecting people to mold to a different era of time. So it's not even centrism, because an active centrism with people that have experience working and building relationships wouldn't be exactly what's the word, when they don't do anything, filibustering. That's not running a government. So basically we have bureaucracy with no government and no positives of either side. So I don't really know what's going on, but I think the media, you have Fox News, CNN on one side, and there should almost be a law where you can't just propagate and pander to your audience, where you should actually have to give some thought to the other side. But then you get into a freedom of speech debate there, and obviously I don't believe in censorship either. So you look at comedians who can't say what they're wanting to say, and that's another problem. So these are all complex problems. I don't have a solution, but the point of this video, I guess, is to say if either side actually got into government, I don't think there would be any solution. I think it's going to be a point where people go to the far right because they view the strong man as able to correct things. And any strong man who's ever came in, there's been people that have died because of that. I think this is no different, and I think we already have that going on. And I think that to let go of globalism and bring it back home, there would be slave labor of some class at home, and usually it's a scapegoat. It's somebody who doesn't have their shit together and can be exploited. Historically, it's been done on racial lines in the United States, especially. Well, not especially. It's always been that way. But obviously, a clear-cut example. You would have somebody who was maybe knew the sheriff, and he could rape somebody, and then they could say, "Oh, well, this black guy did it," and they would kill him, and then the actual rapist would get away. And that's actually how the South functioned for like 200 years, maybe more. That's in like Louisiana, Tennessee, those places. I think that's been outed to the point where people can't return to that. And I also think that the American right aren't as openly racist in that way as they historically have been. So I don't know if there would be a will to want to do that. But they'll find another group. Obviously, Nazi Germany was the Jews. I think the backlash would be towards homosexuals and left-leaning people, to where those people would be subjugated to basically breaking labor. And I've addressed this in other videos. I have a handicapped coworker at one of my jobs who's just the absolute bitch of the job, and he's basically given things that the boss actually should be doing, and covers shifts for the boss when the boss goes out camping and doing all these like trips. And I think that's basically what we're going to be returning to, where it's just a complete and utter exploitation of the actual working class. And I think there's a lot of people who get a slight education and one or two official certifications or tickets, and they think that they're now a millionaire or something, and they will now forget where they came from, and they will see a person struggling like my coworker who's handicapped, and they will completely exploit that situation. There will be no raises for that person, and they will live in a shack. And I think that's where we're returning to very slowly. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed seriously and not kicked back and forth and done nothing about. So anyways, that's something that was on my mind, and it's actually somewhat coherent for me. I think I'm relearning my ability to speak and form thoughts, because I've been socializing more with people, which is, on a side note, great. And I think that everyone needs at least one community and one social group in their life, and stop scrolling. Even if you just stare at a wall, I think that's healthier than your mind than endless scrolling. It's basically an addiction. It is an addiction, obviously, that's been proven. And I think that even meditating is better if you can't find people that'll accept you. And there's a lot of neurotic behavior out there where people won't accept you on certain lines. That's just how people are. And find your chosen crowd, and hopefully they're not radical. And if they are radical, then maybe find a second crowd that's a little bit more in the other direction to balance it out, so you can see both sides. Because I think there's a lot of cheerleading, and it's almost like soccer teams in politics now, which is not what it should be about. It should be about making people's lives better. So anyways, that's my video of the current events of politics and the left and right. And if you want to check out more of my stuff, you can. I will be going to work soon, and I will probably record one more of these and then schedule it to a different day. So anyways, peace out.